Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a Portuguese literary masterpiece called Os Maias. And let me tell you, this is so much more than just a novel. Think of it as a diagnosis, a critique, and, yeah, a mirror held up to an entire nation.
So here's the central puzzle of the whole thing. On the surface, you've got this tragic family drama, a forbidden love affair. But right underneath, it's this incredibly sharp critique of 19th century Portuguese society. It's really asking, can any of us ever truly rise above the flaws of the world we're born into? Let's dig in and see how the novel tries to answer that.
And right there, that's the secret to its genius. The author, Eça de Queirós, brilliantly weaves together this huge panoramic picture of Lisbon high society with the very personal, very doomed story of a single family. The public world and the private world aren't separate things here. No, one is pretty much the cause and the consequence of the other.
Okay, so to really get this novel, you first have to understand the man who wrote it. Eça de Queirós wasn't just, telling a nice story. He was on a mission. He wanted to shake his country and jolt it into the modern world.
Eça's own life really gave him the perfect set of tools for this job. His university years, that's where he soaked up all these radical new ideas that were buzzing around Europe. And then, his career as a diplomat, that gave him this crucial outsider's perspective. It let him see Portugal's problems with this, crystal clear vision. He became a key player in this group of intellectuals who had a really bold agenda. This generation of 70, as they were called, looked around and saw a country that was just stuck in the past, and they wanted to drag it, kicking and screaming, into the future. They truly believed that literature could be like a surgeon's scalpel. You could use it to dissect society's problems and expose all the decay. So, Os Maias, it wasn't just another novel. It was the ultimate expression of this mission. It was a literary weapon aimed right at the heart of the establishment.
All right, let's get to the heart of the story itself and see how this big national critique plays out inside a single family. Because the Maias, they aren't just characters, they're a symbol for Portugal itself.
The family's story is this tragic, downward spiral that unfolds over 3 generations. You start with Afonso. He's the strong patriarch, the rock, embodying these old, heroic ideals of Portugal. Then you have his son, Pedro, a weak, overly romantic guy who just can't handle reality. And finally, there's Carlos, the grandson. He is the family's last great hope. He's given every possible advantage, but the stage is already set for tragedy. Now, this is fascinating. Eça uses the family to stage this big debate about education. Pedro, the father, gets a very traditional, very sheltered Portuguese education that basically makes him weak. But his son, Carlos, gets a modern, practical, English-style education designed to make him strong and worldly. But, and this is the punchline, despite this superior upbringing, Carlos also fails. So why? Well, it's like Eça is telling us, a healthy plant can't exactly thrive in toxic soil.
And that gets us to a crucial point. This story is completely driven by fatalism. Eça is arguing that his characters are trapped by forces way beyond their control. Carlos inherits his mother's passion and his father's weakness. But even more important, he's just suffocated by this lazy, superficial Lisbon society that only rewards mediocrity. And this intense feeling of determinism all leads to the story's central tragedy, a forbidden, incestuous love affair. In Eça's world, this isn't just a shocking plot twist. It's presented as a terrible, unavoidable destiny.
So now, let's zoom out a bit from the family tragedy and look at that chronicle of customs. Eça fills his novel with this incredible cast of characters who basically represents everything wrong with the country's ruling class. I mean, meet the elite. You've got politicians like the Count of Governo, a government minister who is just completely clueless. You've got public figures like Conselheiro Acacio, a guy who's famous for saying these grand, important-sounding things that mean absolutely nothing. And then there's João de Ega, a really fascinating character who is basically Eça's alter ego. He's brilliant, he sees all of society's flaws, but he's too lazy and self-indulgent to actually do anything about it. He represents the failure of the intellectual class itself.
And the critique doesn't stop with the old guard. Oh no. Eça saves some of his sharpest jabs for the newly rich, all personified by this one character, Damaso Salcide. He is just, vulgar,
cowardly and obsessed with copying foreign trends just to seem chic, but with zero substance. He's the perfect symbol for this desperate attempt to appear modern. Even the press gets torn apart, shown as totally irresponsible and sensationalist. Seriously, no one is safe. But Eça's critique isn't just about the people. This is what's so cool. He makes the physical spaces in the novel just as important as the characters. In Os Maias, buildings and gardens, they have a life of their own. And that is a question Eça answers just brilliantly. In this novel, a house is never just a house. It's a living, breathing symbol of the family's fortunes and, really, the fate of the nation. And the main stage for all of this is the Maya family home, O Ramalete. The house itself mirrors the whole arc of the story. It's amazing. When Carlos and his grandfather move in, the place has been abandoned, but they restore it. It becomes this symbol of new hope for the family. But at the end of the novel, after all the tragedy is played out, the house is abandoned again, decaying. The furniture's all covered in these white sheets that look like funeral shrouds. Even the statue of Venus in the garden, once a symbol of beauty, is now covered in rust, a physical mark of the monstrous, corrupted love that destroyed the family. And even the place where the forbidden love affair happens is deeply symbolic. Carlos rents this secret apartment for his meetings with Maria Eduarda, and he names it a taca. That literally means the burrow or the lair. The name itself suggests something primitive, right? Animalistic, a regression away from civilized society. It just perfectly captures the transgressive nature of their relationship. So, this book was published way back in 1888. Why on earth are we still talking about it? Why does this story, about a doomed family in 19th century Lisbon, continue to hit so hard? Well, from the very beginning, people knew it was something special. Sure, it shocked a lot of Portuguese readers with how blunt it was, but major international writers like Emile Zola were calling Eça a master. Zola even said he was superior to giants like Flaubert. I mean, wow. The novel immediately put Portuguese literature on the world map. And this is not some dusty old classic that nobody touches. Its grip on the culture is still incredibly strong. Just look at 2014. A film adaptation came out and drew over 85,000 viewers, making it the most watched Portuguese film of the year. Generations of people still see their world reflected in this story. In the end, the novel lasts because its themes are just universal and timeless. It's this powerful critique of what happens when a society values appearance more than substance, when potential is just thrown away, and when the dead weight of the past suffocates any chance of a future. Yeah, it's a Portuguese story, but its lessons about that struggle between tradition and modernity, they resonate everywhere.
Os Maias was a brutally honest mirror for its time, reflecting a nation's anxieties, its failures, and its fleeting hopes. And it leaves all of us with a really provocative question. If an author with Eça's sharp, critical eye were to write a great novel about our society today, what uncomfortable truths would we be forced to see?